Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Living the Experiment, a new monthly series from the International Human Design School. Yeah, wow, so pleased to see so many familiar names and faces and lots of new ones too. So, whether you're brand new to human design or you've been living your experiment for decades, these gatherings are an opportunity to explore human design through conversation, teaching, and shared experience. Yeah. As Ra reminded us so often, the value of human design comes from living the mechanics, observing what happens, and discovering what is correct for you, for yourself, right? So today we're going to explore one of the hottest topics, and that is what is happening in 2027, right? And there are so many misconceptions, so much speculation. Yeah, so today our intention isn't to predict the future or create fear. Instead, we're going to explore some of Ra's original teachings, what he said about this transition, and what we can already observe unfolding before us. And what does that mean to us as individuals? Yeah. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Ruth Brennan. I've been teaching and living my experiment for many years, and I consider it a privilege to be part of the International Human Design School family. Yeah. Human design has taught me so much. It's changed my life. I often say it saved my life. And it comes from not only understanding and collecting information, which I do like a crazy person, but also from observing what happens when I actually live my strategy and authority. Yeah, so what does it look like to live the knowledge rather than simply understand it? Yeah, so hang on a second. Guys, let's get this going. So, how do you meet uncertainty? Yeah, I was laughing to myself this morning as things shifted around a little bit as closely as 5 or 10 minutes ago. So, this is indeed an experiment, our inaugural session together. Yeah, so I'm meeting uncertainty with trusting how life unfolds and trusting that everything works out exactly as it should. Yeah, so I'm IHDS certified professional analyst and teacher. I like to think I'm curious, full of reflection, and here for personal growth. And what's so exciting for me personally is I'm a 5-1 sacral generator born on the left angle cross of cycles. Yeah, and my cross is self-actuated. And what that means is my definition is my cross. And my cross is my only definition. Yeah, so cycles of transformation. So I'd like to now, bring on Darshana, right, to talk about global cycles. And global cycles describe the environment, right? Not predicting what it does to our individual lives. It's a change in the background frequency. And I am so delighted that Darshana accepted the invitation, right, to speak with us about 2027. Darshana has been living her experiment since 2005 and spent decades and decades, right, exploring what it truly means to be human. right? And her journey has taken her through the worlds of archaeology, anthropology, music, and theater. Do you guys know that Darshana was an opera singer? Mysticism, astrology, many, many spiritual traditions, but always guided the golden thread of a deep longing to understand the nature of existence. Yeah. And when she found human design and met Rahu, she found something unlike anything she had experienced before, um, a practical path, right, of awakening, grounded not in belief, but in the lived experience of strategy and authority. Darshana is a 3-5 profile, a splenic projector on the cross of service. Yeah, so Darshana brings a rare combination of wisdom, depth, and lived experience. And she has such a remarkable gift for making complex ideas accessible, but always returning to the essence of the experiment, which is trusting her own inner authority. And I'm just so grateful to you, Darshana, that you're here to explore this fascinating topic. So, everyone, please help me energetically welcome, yeah, Darshana. So, Darshana, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's so nice. It's so nice to be here with you, and it's so nice to be part of the IHDS. Um, it's it's helped me to grow in my own depth and wisdom simply by teaching the material over and over again and meeting so many people because every one of you is making a contribution to me. You know, every time I meet you, every time I work with you and experience your unique outer authority, your presence, your smiles, your frustrations. Um, yeah. I I've been actually talking about 2027 at a lot of different events around Europe in the last couple of years. So it's, and as you saw, I'm a rather splenic kind of gal. And that means, and I'm a 3-5, so new things all the time. And I can only speak from what the patterns are in the now. And those patterns includes where my being is, where I'm moving through. And I've been teaching the cosmology course, Bond 2, this semester, finishing up this next week. And it has taken me in another journey of reconnecting to the source of our journey here, our experiment of self-reflected consciousness and form, into understanding that mechanics and the relevance of that right now, right now to us as we sit here and look at a screen and listen to voices coming over the air like magic. Yeah, so then this is this is Darshana now on 2027. This is the version you get today. And this is really a much great deal about the human design as an interface with our evolution, that we are interfacing with this field, this Maya, this constellation of frequency and energetics. I'll have to, do my best to keep it because it's part of my design to speak in a simple way, my Gate 22, with sensitivity and simplicity. And I'm a storyteller, so you'll have to listen to that. But 2027, a change in the background frequency. What's the story here? So we've got this thing called a global cycle, and we've been in the cross of planning since 1615, and we are biting the edge of the shift of the cross of sleeping phoenix right now. And we are experiencing shift. Every time you've done something, like when you left your ordinary foundation school, whatever it's called in your country, like high school in America or public school, and you went to university or began a job or got married or did something new, you met an incredible series of new things. You had to reorient all the time because it just wasn't what you were used to. It wasn't the theme of being with your parents in the home or whatever it was, because we all come from different kinds of backgrounds. And that's all that's happening, guys. We're just going to have to figure it out as we go along. Um, as a result of all this change and having 8 billion people wondering what the heck's going on, we have uncertainty in the field. And one of the things that our little mind, or ajna, is not very comfortable with is uncertainty. Because we are, as humans, designed to survive. Our human form, our mammalian form is here to survive. And so when we don't know what's going to happen, we can perceive that as a risk. And we don't know what's going to happen with this. But the thing is, we've never known. I mean, we have never known from one moment to the next. And big and small changes can make a big shift for us. I was recently in Austria visiting my son's wife's family and met this lovely man who was the owner of the hotel we were staying in, and there had been some problems, and he made some extra efforts and was just a kind and lovely man. I felt really fond of him as I get, because I'm tribal. And then 4 days later, he died, and he was like 60. And it like shattered me. Not that I knew him more than those few days that we were there. That's how much uncertainty can really throw us off because we just want to know what's going to be, like that we're going to have a ground to stand on. And what human design provided us with is that. It provided us with something that is certain, consistent, reliable, and that's our strategy and authority. And that's about it. I mean, that's where we go for our inner calm, our inner balance, our inner well-being. But we see around us, there is uncertainty, not just in politics and not just in our economics and our relationships, education, technology, AI, a lot of fear factors going on about AI right now in the news and so on. Climate, we all can sense that something fundamental is changing. And I mean, human design doesn't promise to predict anything, just like Ruth was saying. This is not predictive. How can we possibly do that? Because the moment hasn't arrived yet. And we are caught in a time dimension where we are where we are. Some of us can read some things into the future. Some of us can have a sensing of something. I'm extremely intuitive in my design and have that kind of pattern reading capacity. But that doesn't mean I feel any more safe, because it is just that lack of stability that we focus on, that external lack of stability that we focus on. And so if we go to the next slide. Life moves all by itself. It's an effortless thing. So, and we can sometimes feel like we're really trying to push against it, and like, no, at least this, keep stable. But we have here on the slide, as it says, we are passengers. This is one of the things that Ra really emphasized and made some wonderful videos about being a passenger in a car and so on. But if you think that I am consciousness, right? You can sit right now in your moment and say, I am. I am. I'm sitting here. I have a sense of I within me, and I can identify more or less with who I consider myself, who I reflect on myself to be. But from that, we are not here, as it says, to control our lives. We're here to witness how our consciousness moves through the field, moves through the Maya, moves through time, engages oracally with others. So we are the passenger and we're not the doer, right? We're the witness. We're the witness of it. Human design does not remove uncertainty. It changes our relationship with it. So there's a place to sit for a moment. This is okay. Can I change my relationship with uncertainty? What is it that lands me in uncertainty so often? And then from uncertainty, we go into, because, our spleen, we have three awareness centers. And as soon as we become uncertain, the awareness kicks in our survival and our needs and our, witnessing feels vulnerable. Correct decisions are not going to eliminate challenges, but they will, in following your strategy and authority, but they will reduce the resistance. And then if we say, okay, global cycles, 2027, all kinds of crazy things that we're hearing about that Ra referred to and didn't refer to, lots of things going on that nobody, that has nothing to do with Ra said, that is coming from that fear base. So if we let life be that I am a consciousness, I am a crystal of consciousness that has existed since the beginning of this experiment, since what we call the Big Bang, or that moment that the singularity became a binary, where they became a this and that in our world instead of just oneness. We've been witnessing for a long time, and the possibility there is to continue, even though the change. There's this one play, or no, a writer or something. There was something like it said, "How to keep your head about you when everyone else about you is losing theirs." So how do we stay aligned? Next slide. So what's the real meaning behind 2027? Instead of the world will go to hell, instead of us saying that, we can say, well, whatever happens economically, whatever happens politically, whatever AI becomes, whatever changes in our forms of education, we have young people in my family that are moving just out of basic education and wondering, why should they go to college? I mean, what's the point of that? Because things are changing so fast. We have here again, the movement that is happening where what 2027 represents, which is individuation. That's what the cross of the sleeping phoenix is. Now, I don't have a slide of an image of the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and it's not really necessary to have that, because that's an interesting thing to look at. But what we want to take in outside of the visuals of that is that this is about a channel that's called the channel of charisma, a design of where thoughts become deeds, and it's integration, which means it's about our own self empowerment. And it is also having the gate 55, which is about the spirit of your own unique feeling of your being, your I amness. And gate 59, which is like, let's play. It's the gate of merging with another, the merging that creates, as part of the channel of mating with others, interchange. So when we hear 2027, we often think, oop, 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 it's going to be all about, Ra would say, everyone's going to be involved in themselves. But if we deconstruct that, what we're seeing is it's that everyone is going to be saying, is this who I am? Is this my truth? Am I in alignment with my own inner authority? And I am in alignment with my design? Is this allowing me through that aligning to fulfill my purpose? Can I have next slide? So, I know there's probably some of you who are relatively new to human design. There's some of you who've been here for almost as long as I have, and or maybe longer. Carol's here, and Carol and I did the PTL training together. And yeah, so, lots of different levels of understanding of human design, which is not necessarily relevant to the wisdom capacity that you have. Human design does not measure that. But human design does give us an opportunity to begin to self-reflect on something that exists beyond what we take in from outside. And that's, what we call conditioning. We take it in from the outside and we identify with it. We think that that defines us. So we begin by believing in our chart, and we believe that the chart then is representing me. Oh, this is who I am. I'm a this. And we often see that with human design, people saying, well, who am I? And what is my purpose? That was one of my big ones. I mean, but there must be a purpose for all of this. I saw so much pain in the world. Why do relationships work? One of my questions was, why do people choose belief systems and attach to them and believe those who aren't part of that are out? Why would we exclude others? That is the correct beginning, to begin with this movement from our personal identity and believing, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to begin my experiment. Because the chart gives us language for our uniqueness. But, next slide. I'm inviting you to a shift in perspective. And it's not something unique for me. This is something through, again, my work with Ra and his teaching and from the voice and stuff. And then my walking through the world and so on for so many decades. We discovered that our chart is not creating our uniqueness. The chart is revealing your differentiation. Think about that. This is revealing you as a differentiated being, as someone who is not like anything else. So how can we possibly correct it? Another. How can we judge it? How can we measure it? How can we possibly do that? Because it doesn't exist anywhere else. That's where our witness comes in, our passenger. Differentiation isn't a psychological thing. It's not a spiritual thing. It's not a personal thing. What it is evolutionary. So this isn't a portrait of identity that we have. That's my design there, right? That's not a portrait of my identity. It's my map of my differentiation, my uniqueness, my imprint, my consistency, what I am holding all the time in a consistent way energetically. So come to the next slide. Neutrinos. That's a nice image for neutrinos. Often I'm going pulling in star stuff, coming through. And I've decided to join Neptune under the water, go beneath the surface. Here we are, we're moving through life. Human design gives us this unique opportunity and suggests that perhaps we're not moving through life, but life is moving through us. If life is moving through me, if I'm just here in this now, and my little old magnetic monopole is drawing whatever is meant to come into my field, and those neutrinos moving through me, and I'm filtering them, and I'm expressing them outward from my differentiated self. We have the neutrino stream. And the neutrinos are coming in mostly from our sun, but 3-4% from Jupiter, and then the rest coming in from deep space. So there is our relationship. Those are our ancestors out there, the stars that are out there. We got our beautiful, intimate family here in the solar system. But we are in a relationship with everything. And the neutrinos are bringing their imprint into us. Ra called it the breath of the stars, or that they whisper to us. They do through the neutrinos. So if we can understand that physics isn't actually the point of this, it's the life is never static, that it's life arriving, life arriving, life arriving, and we are continually participating in an evolving informational field. So there's so many things that we experience, I mean, um, like losing a parent. And that's a big shift where it can kind of fill the entire focus. It was like, for me, it was with the simplicity of this man that I met and his dying filled the focus. And every now and then still I come into a like, oh, he's gone. How can that be? Life is just never static. We're continually information, evolving, movement, meeting it. And it naturally leads to the understanding or to the awareness that we are not isolated individuals. We're differentiated participants. We are part of it. Want to say anything, Ruth? We agreed that I would pause sometimes and bring her in.
I forgot that I was muted. Yeah, so beautiful. So beautiful, Darshana. So I'm so curious. Um, and I had, yeah. So this is what Ra taught. And can you tell us what you see being misinterpreted about 2027 in all of the communities you interact with? Why there's no need to fear. I mean, you've explained the mechanics beautifully. What are some of the misconceptions that I don't want to say concern you the most, but get your attention that you'd like to clear up?
Well, I don't know that I could do that, um, because a lot of times, if there's misconceptions that are out there that I feel are launching us into a deep state of fear or panic or inner anxiety, it comes in so strongly for me because of my openness in my design and that I'm simply pressurized awareness in my definition. Um, that I have to step away from it. I just know it's not correct for me. So there'll be Facebook pages, or maybe it's not Facebook anymore, wherever it is. I occasionally wander around in social media, and then leave and go and find something cosmic to read. Um, but I think that what I have witnessed is in terms of a misinterpretation, and Ra, he was a Gate 51 personality son. He was here to shock us, to initiate us. And so it was not meant to be a field of roses that we would always just feel like, it's so nice, because it is a reality that things are changing. And it is a reality that this global cycle is creating a deconstruction of institutions, of communities, of religions, of everything that has been, sort of in a Saturnian way, put up as a construct for us to feel like, I know what life is. From 2008 with the financial crisis, when that began, and now AI. Every time, I mean, I'm a nerd. I love going into AI, and and then um, I read on the news and I meet in my family members and stuff like that. It's like, oh, AI is going to make us get dumb and it's going to make us get this. And I said, do you know what happened when horses were replaced by cars? I mean, do you know what happened when film was replaced by television? Everybody gets scared of change. And all we can do is acknowledge that change is a consistency. I have Gate 32 active 3 times in my channel of transformation. And I love that gate because it says, It's the gate of, we'll probably get the words wrong, but of endurance.
Mhm.
And then it says, there is nothing that endures except this statement. Nothing endures. And that's kind of where we got to hang out. You know, nothing endures. Life is in movement. There is always going to be change. So if we get caught up in the, in news, it's like if it bleeds, it leads, 2027, talk about it bleed on war and devastation, and we're all going to go broke and die out and have plague and who knows what. Maybe, and we didn't anticipate COVID, did we? And it ran in the door and just hung out for a while and really devastated quite a lot. And we're here, and there was big changes that happened as a result of it. So I would say that what I see in the 2027, and that's why what I'll finish out with my slides with and pointing out to you is that nothing has truly supported you in your uniqueness. It has asked for you to release your uniqueness and merge into tribal agreements and communities, into collective patterns and structures. It has asked for you to come together, team, because we're going to build a world. And we're pretty much built out. We've done the building. And it's time for us to begin to say, but, and this has been a question for quite some time, I would say probably from maybe the 50s, the 60s, when there was what they called the middle age crisis, when people started recognizing that working in a job that doesn't bring me satisfaction, doesn't give me a sense of peace, a sense of success, doesn't bring delight to me, doesn't give me a sense of fulfilling my purpose. It's not what I'm here to do. We're not workhorses. The seven-centered need for work, building, taming the individual into a grouping, a massive group to build a Maya is done. And 2027 says, okay, it's your turn now. Each one of you, it's your turn. But in order to create space for you, we got to break down what's there. Pluto's working on it. Saturn has done its job by us going through the last quarter of mutation and Pluto moving through Capricorn. Yeah, so that's what I have. That was my long answer for that one.
And one thing that I hear is about the new being, the rave beings, and how the solar plex will no longer be a motor and operate in a wave, but that, it will stabilize, and one of our channels will no longer be a channel. And I've heard concerns, well, what does that mean for me? Is my emotional system going to change? Is there a switch that's going to flip on February 15th, 2027? Right? So, what can you tell us about that, Darshana, to alleviate concerns or misconceptions?
Well, first and foremost is your imprint is your imprint, and you can't change it. Sorry, guys. Nothing's going to change it. Our minds try to do a lot with it, and it doesn't change. So what is changing then? The frequency. So what does that mean? There still will, all of us who are alive, and until the last one of us that were born prior to 2027, February or so, we're all carrying that nine-centered chart. We are all bringing it still out into the Maya. And Ra said also in, I think it was in the Brahma's Long Night, humans are not phased out at all. We're here till the end, as well as the rave. It's just that the mutation is taking on more of a focus on the mutation, because that's what happens with mutation is we're supporting the birth, like our babies, when they come out. They're a mutation of a combination of two genetics coming together. So do we do we lose our emotions or do we get our emotions? Or your design is your design. That's what you get. That's what you got. It's not, you're not getting it. You got it already. And the frequency is not going to be pushing need and that channel 1949 is not going to be pushing us with that. There's pressure that comes from the 19. It's not going to be a life fueled by neediness, fueled by the dominance of tribe to drop the individual and their needs in order to support the community, in order to support a shared belief structure or bargain or institution. So solar plex, you know, it's going to wake up more. There's going to be less pressure motorized in it. You know, if you can, sometimes it can be difficult to measure the difference between what is a solar plex as an awareness center versus what is it as a motor, because it's both, right? And its job won't be to be a motor anymore. Probably, you know, I always like to think of like what's the logical, practical answer reason for that? Why would we have had a motorized emotional field? Well, it certainly got us going, didn't it? I mean, emotions really fuel things, passion, sex, you know, greed and desire and all those things. It was a very useful driving force for us building out the Maya in order to come to this point where we're having the mutation. Creates a lot of heat. And what gets born is individuation. What gets born your little being, this crystal of consciousness that has awareness of being gets to go, I get to play now, I get to come out, I get to be here. I'm not just going to have to wear the heavy coat and armor of tribe and collective and homogenization and seven-centered survivalness. So meeting it in that space in alignment with your strategy and authority, because that's, you know, essential. I mean, otherwise you don't stay aligned to your mechanics. And then you are, it was like, it was something I was thinking about that when I was a music major, and as Ruth mentioned, and as a music major, we were required to compose, and there was only one instrument in the class, and so I was the voice instrument, and there was a violin and a flute and a this and a that, and I had to compose for them, and what that did for me in making using traditional or the basic rules of music, harmony and that began to see how the exquisiteness of the way music comes together gets lost when a note goes wrong or when the tuning's a little off. That this image here, this is exquisite. This is all of us have probably experienced being underwater at some point or other and seeing light come through it. And there's nothing like the magic of that. And if there was, you know, plastic bags floating around in there, you would be like, yeah, okay, that's all right, you know, plastic bags, but that's what not self is. Plastic bags in your ocean. And straws and diapers and God knows what. Yeah.
Thank you, Darshana.
So also, you know, it's beyond us. I mean, this is one thing, you know, I'm getting up in the years now, and so I can look back and I have grandchildren, and it's so amazing having them. And I remember my grandparents. Yeah, so I can go from my grandparents to my grandchildren. There's this ancestral line, genetic line, crystals of consciousness that I've shared existence with in this time span. Person, me, you, family, in whatever way it showed up. It doesn't have to be limited to, you know, oh, it has to look like father, mother, and children. It is whatever a family was for you, the generations that are there, ripples that are spreading still across the water, humanity, evolution, cosmos, our ancestors, the stars. You know, the 66 sides that Ra refers to, if you've ever heard about them in Bantu, are represented by stars, and they're the frequencies that were there in the beginning. There's certain stars that are attuned to that frequency who carried the crystal, and all of us belong to one of them. We're all family in that sense, in the cosmos. There is no hierarchy. Triples is beyond the individual. So in this change now, this global change, it's beyond the individual. It's us interacting with it. We get to watch it and be ourselves in the midst of it. Yeah, we can do the next slide. So we're born in different times. I mean, my PTL1 class, and I've been teaching about the planets, and we were going through the inner and the outer planets. And it, again, every time I teach these things, I just get deeper in love with existence and how perfect it is, and how we have knowledge bases that can help us to understand it, like ancient astrology that has evolved over time, and human design, you know, which includes the zodiac, so that we can see how the planets move through that and its relationship to the mandala. So generations are born with particular evolutionary climates. I was born at the very end of Pluto and Leo, so I've still got that sort of hippie background, you know, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll and that sort of thing. And my boy, he was born when it was in Scorpio. And I see it so much, the depth inside of him, the truth that he is looking for and ready to not let anything stay that doesn't hold truth in it. And then my grandbabies, the twins who were born last year, they have Pluto and Aquarius. They're going to be carrying out something that's Uranian, more revolutionary and freedom oriented. All of us are bringing in our uniqueness, our imprint. And nobody's alike. And humanity then gets to explore something different every time something new, some new generational thing comes in. It's a little easier to observe it when it's generational, because it sticks around long enough for us to identify it. Whereas today, you know, the sun's in this or the moon's in that, it moves around all the time. We go to the next slide.
I'm trying.
Yeah. So 2027, it's a shift in our evolutionary emphasis, not a shift in your survival emphasis or your loss emphasis or disaster emphasis. It's simply change, as we have always had. And that change is saying, like I was saying before, now it's your turn, Ruth. And who's on the page here? Marianne and Scott and Carol and Sue Ann and Christine. It's your turn for your unique crystal to begin to say, I'm not being pressured out of my shining. I'm not being pressured by bargains and details and datas and structures and institutions and stuff. I mean, it'll be here for a while, you know, because conditioning carries over quite a bit. But the pressure doesn't carry over. That's the secret to this. We're not going to be pressured away from ourselves anymore. We're going to penetrate into the meaning of this. Cross penetration. We're going to penetrate it. We're going in there. We're going to check this out, this new world that we're going to be in, that allows for us to be ourselves. And if we say evolutionary program is a changing of emphasis, and human design isn't simply giving us a language for observing that, not simply doing that. It's bringing us the opportunity to shift and be an observer of that, a witness of that, a passenger that's riding through the storm Yeah. Okay, next slide. Last slide, folks. I'm doing pretty good on keeping on time. So this is not a picture of participation. It's not about defining who you are. Oh, it's not a picture. It's a part. Better read this right. Um, it's not a picture. It's a participation. The body graph is not about defining you. Oh, yeah, you're a generator. Nobody ever says that. Oh, you're a projector. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't invited you. Right? We get this not self homogenized way of reduction. I gave a big passionate talk about it at an immersion in Slovakia recently, saying, I feel like generators are dismissive of projectors, because they aren't looking. And projectors get dismissive of each other and everything, who knows why. But it's not this picture. It's about how each of us participate in the unfolding of something greater. We're meeting each other, and there's nothing that has more value. And if somebody is acting through not self in a moment, you smile and say, I know where you're at. I
Mm.
know what it's like to be lost there. And you may not say that because it might get them mad, but but you can have compassion and you can have empathy, you can have awareness, you can have understanding. Moving in this evolutionary time, I mean, it's always been evolutionary, but this one's a big one, you know? In 17, whatever it was, 81, people will know.
81. Yeah.
Was it 81? Oh, I got it this time. Um, a new type came into the world that had never existed before, called the projector. And we moved from being seven-centered to nine-centered. Projectors have never been seven-centered beings. The other three types have. So a completely new type came in, and it's been here since there, and it has not been recognized. A little bits here and there, but not truly, like as a valid functioning space, a type that can make a contribution, because we carried the conditioning still of the cross of planning. Now we're going into individuation. We're going, one Ra said that people used to come to him and say, yeah, but Ra, what's my purpose? And he said, you know what your purpose is? And everyone was like, yeah, what? He said, to live your design. So that's your job. That's all you got to do. And then life will arrive, bang you in the head, tickle you on your feet. It'll be life arriving, and you will be meeting it as yourself and become richer as a result of it, gaining wisdom. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm done.
Uh, so in a way, Darshana, you're saying that by right living our design, we participate in the evolutionary process and contribution to our evolution. And that as we have compassion and support for others to do the same, we all benefit from it, evolutionarily speaking.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful story.
it's interesting. My twin granddaughters, they're 1.5, and they're manifestors. And they're 5'1" emotional manifestors, 35, 36s. And they're two egg babies. They're not twins, so they're very different. And watching them unfold, I mean, they're having a heck of a time because the world doesn't know what to do with 1.5-year-old twins who are running in whatever direction they want to be in and are fully expressing their who they are-ness. And this to me is like, my son, they just came back from Austria. We had met them down there, now they're back. And he said, oh, the plane was delayed 4 hours. And we're sitting in the airport. And then they wouldn't let us bring the diaper bag on board because of the delay. More people were on the flight. And then I said to them, but I'm carrying diapers on, he said, because I'm not going to be on a plane. And then He's sitting, he says, they wouldn't let us sit near each other, one at the front, one at the back, each with a baby. And then the babies cried the whole time. And everybody who had to sit near them was going, oh, no, no, I have to, everyone's like not having space, right? And this is what we do, right? This is what we do. We just don't have space for people struggling. And we struggle. We got a channel called it. I mean, it's part of the dance. So, yeah. Yeah, it's an interweaving, all of us together making this Maya. And the more we align and the more that we stay there, the more potential there is for the Maya to show up as something more exquisite in its alignment, like a well-played symphony.
Oh, Darshana, I'm so grateful to you for sharing all of this beauty with us. Uh, we have some time. I'd like to invite some questions from the group. And I'd like to acknowledge Sabina Abreu, who is in the background, letting folks in, monitoring the chat, making sure things run smoothly. Sabina, thank you, dear. Have you seen some questions that we can explore in the chat?
I haven't as of yet, but I'm waiting for some. And there is such a beautiful resonance of what Darshana has shared among all of the attendants. So thank you so much. It's giving me the chills right now.
Mhm.
So let's open. Does anyone have a question for Darshana? You can raise your hand, type it into the chat.
Okay, I see one.
Okay.
And this is from Candice, and she is asking, how does this affect upon the solar, upon the open solar plexus individuals?
Ah,
You're gonna keep being an open solar plex individual. I mean, sweetheart, it's simply that. You know, your design is your design. When the pressure has been coming in from like the 1949, there's been a lot of focus on developing institutions that meet the needs of the tribe with the higher principles and so on. And the 49's kind of going, okay, Mr. Need down there. I always make the gates into people, okay, so Mr. 19 down there, I'm tired of you pushing on me all the time. I'm gonna go hang out with gate 55 because it's gonna move over to the gate 55 and say, okay, higher principles of my own awakening as an individual, my spirit. Yeah, so we really want to stay connected to the fact that how is it going to show up for you, Candace? You have gate 55 twice, Earth and Moon. Okay, cool. And watch, watch what's changing for you because you're the uniqueness that can share your wisdom of that with us. We can't tell you what it'll feel like. We can't. I don't know.
yes, and Darshana didn't Ra even say you can't know, you can't predict what the mutation will be until it's here. You don't know until you know.
When it's arrived, when the now, and it's almost because knowing takes a bit of time. The brain has to process it, the mind processes it, and we'll know instantaneously, and then we'll process it.
Mm. Thanks, Darshana.
Alex has a question.
Yeah, yes, we have Alex.
Mhm.
Hi everyone. Hi Darshana. Nice to meet
Hi.
you. Nice to meet you,
Yeah.
Ruth. Um, I've heard in my classes that there are some people that are imprinted as a key and some people that are imprinted as a lock. The mandala has locks and the new global cycle has some keys. So how would you describe, not specifically for one chart, but for like in general, uh, that we can discover how to use those keys or locks in each one of us?
You know, it's a good question, Alex, because it shows how we track out from what we see in something interesting and we think, yeah, well, so how does that work? Now, Ra did talk about this. He said if you have one of the gates of the new cross, you know, so the 2034 or the 55 or the 59 or one of the ones from penetration, there's going to be an attuning for you. Those are the keys, and you're going to be tuned into that quality. Does that mean that you shouldn't follow your strategy and authority? Nah, it just means you're going to have an attunement there. Another example is that Ra was, you know, we've since the 1961 or somewhere in there, we've been in a first line um, phase before moving over into, as we shift into the Phoenix, we're going into a sixth line phase quality frequency. And so those who, Ross said, it's been a great time for me. I have 10 first lines. You know, those who are first line orientation have a frequency of one or more, or more than one probably. You know, the first line era was a one that was more oriented in resonance and harmony with you. And those who have a sixth line now get to have life be something that's also in a resonance or harmony with them as we move into that. Now, does that change strategy and authority? No, it doesn't. It's not going to change anything other than witnessing it. So you can't use it. That's what I was saying. It's like, it's a good question because we think, oh, cool, what have I got? Like my moon's in gate 54. So my driving focus is going to be part of the penetration. You know, I can be like, okay, I'm part of the new team.
Mhm.
And but all I'm going to do is stay me, you know. And I'm curious to know how 54 is going to come in, you know, like what are you talking about this time? Because I've just been hearing all that tribal stuff, you know, 4037 and the 9 and the 16. I don't have any of those, you know, so I didn't have that kind of connection. Now I'm going to have part of the frequency that I'm more specifically oriented towards, but it won't change how I meet life and myself. Does that make sense to you, Alex?
Yeah, my key takeaway is the word you keep mentioning, that is attunement. That makes a lot of sense. Like we have a role, an active or passive role within the evolutionary process, and then as it unfolds, we will like attune to it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. It really, I mean, that's what everything is, and that's sort of like saying that what we see is that we are part of this evolutionary movement. And sometimes it's, you know, we get to be the ones that are more like in tune or, you know, like, okay, I'm there with that. Um, I feel that about my 54, you know, as my driving. I have it in the fourth line, enlightenment and darkenment. And it's really my driving force. It's like I'm not really interested in anything else except my grandkids and maybe travel, third line. But yeah, it is the attunement. And I see Christine wrote something about 1 to 6, and I sort of just addressed that. So that answered that question just by itself.
Yeah, one of the things that I find fascinating is when we, you know, the earth revolves around the sun, and as we move around the mandala in our individual process, it's counterclockwise. But and the global cycles are built on, correct me if I'm wrong here, Darshana, the precession of the equinox, and that moves in a clockwise fashion. So we're going this way, the solar system kind of around the galaxy, closer to different background star field frequencies. While we continue our individual process, they go like this. It's kind of fun, a fun picture, where typically we'd go from the sixth line to the first line. In the cycles, we go in the opposite direction from 1 to the 6.
Yeah, yeah, the movement backwards. It is an interesting thing. And the precession of the equinox. I mean, it really is fascinating what Ra, especially, you know, just having spent this semester with the Bantu. in the recognition of how, even though it feels very real in this Maya where we are in our little solar system, which we're getting to know Mars a little bit now, and we've got to know the moon a little bit, and haven't gone. We've had the James Webb Telescope, and we've had the Voyager going out there, and Hubble for some time now. But so we've got to see some of the stuff that's out there, but we don't really have much of a relationship with it. And when we can realize that right now, those 66 stars that Ra, and he actually said now it's down to about, I can't remember, was it 42 or 48? Because some of them are no longer functioning, but they were actually part of what we carry in frequency, that we carry it because we are part of that originating point. Each one of us is a fragment. That's not even the right word because it's too big. Of Ross says, our crystals of consciousness are dark matter, and they're maybe 2 neutrinos wide, something like that. But ours were part of the originating point. All of us. We've been here since then. All of us. It's magnificent to think about. So it can really allow us to go a bit beyond the petty life, of neuroses and all the questions that our minds can come up with, and just say, for every question that I have, I'm going to spend a half hour in contemplation of who I am, in awareness of being present in the now. It's like, okay, question. All right, Darshana, come back to the now.
Darshana, it has been so delightful to spend this time with you.
Yeah, thank you.
And everyone who came today, thank you for being part of our experiment known as the Living the Experiment series. We will have an event each and every month. The details are not quite solidified yet. Had to meet a little uncertainty here with this class, but there will be information soon on next month's event. You can visit the IHDSchool.com, IHDschool.com, to sign up for their newsletter. There's a sign up box in the footer, and you'll receive information about classes and services. I believe it's early Tuesday mornings, most parts of the world. Darshana, what are you teaching in the fall, if anyone would like to check that out?
Well, I teach the analyst training. So I'll have my second semester of the analyst training coming in. And then I do the 2s and 3s. I did a 3 this semester. So I'm doing connections next semester. I'm teaching a PTL4. That's a certification class. And then I'm doing a cosmology class, but I don't remember which one it is.
I thought it was Bond 2, but I might be.
Yeah, no, that's now. Yeah.
Is it purpose, profile, and function?
Could be that. I mean, we rotate them. And so usually what I have to do is look at my files and see when did I last teach this one? And then I bring in the oldest one and put it back in again. So it's up in the cosmology section at IHDS.
Yeah, it is the profile, purpose, and function, one of
There
my
you go.
favorites.
It's a good one.
Thank you, Sabina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you all for showing up today. I hope to see you again. So nice to see so many familiar faces and meet some new ones.
Yeah, it's really wonderful having you all here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being in this work. Right? Thank you for being open so that more and more of this capacity for being present without old paradigms, but simply from presence is available. I mean, you guys you're our valiant, I don't want to say warriors, but you're our beauties. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. And the IHDS, right, is committed to preserving the integrity of Ra's original source message. And so primarily the courses that are available through the school follow the methods that Ra himself set up for learning and integrating and embodying the knowledge. Yeah. So we're proud of that. I'm proud to be
There's still
part of that.
so much to learn from that knowledge. We have not gone anywhere into the depth of what Ra brought forward for us. It's I'm 21 years now, in this work, and I still am learning. It's amazing. And it's relevant learning. It's not just know stuff, but it's like it's making sense of all of this. Yeah.
I teach the foundation classes in addition to some of the professional analyst classes. And I love the foundations because every time I go through that course with a new group of students, the information settles more deeply, and I see things through a new lens, through the lens of everybody participating in the course. It's such a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, parting is such sweet sorrow, and yet we shall.
Grateful to you, Darshana. Thank you so much. Sabina, thank you for being here and supporting us.
Yes, thanks, Sabina.
And Peter said, I thought there would be more about what Ross said about 2027. There's so much to say, Peter. And Darshana, where can Peter go?
Oh, there's so much out there with what Ra actually said. Of course, you can go to Jovian and get him talking about it. And I don't know if there's some of the materials available through HDS. And I mean, I really suggest that you go and listen to Ra rather than listen to us saying what Ra says, because what we're doing is this is stuff that we don't have any relationship with. This is like totally out there information. The change, the mutation, the Bantu, all of this. It came from the voice. It came from Raw sourcing into something that we can't. Maybe we can source it into some place within our own access to the totality. But yeah, and also, yeah, at the school, maybe Andrea might be teaching 2027 soon, and she would be bringing in the specifics of Ra's work in that.
Yeah, this is about living the experiment, which is about how do we use this to navigate our lives in an aligned fashion. Yeah, so much information. Maybe we'll revisit the topic again in a different way.
That it's going to be around.
For sure. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being here and hope to see you next month. There will be an email that goes out to everyone who registered that will give you a link to where this video will be available. It will be under free resources in the webinars category. And you'll receive a little note about what's coming next. So until then, bye for now.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.